What are we doing this week? You have a good week? Yeah, me too. What's up, YouTube? This is your boy John from Project Ellsworth, and I am back with you today for episode 7 of Fright Flick Friday. Why don't you start doing that? Welcome to Fright Flick Friday. This is my series where I just review the movies that I've watched over the past week. This week I managed to get to 4 of them. I watched Halloween 2, I watched John Carpenter's Vampires, I watched The Fog, and I watched John Carpenter's Cigarette Burns from the Master of Horror series. Everybody, I've already done an individual review this week on Halloween 2, so you can pop over and check that out. I'll leave a link to that in the description. Just briefly, I think that that's one of the better films in the Halloween series, period. Old and new, Rob Zombie, no Rob Zombie. You know, I think that Halloween 2 is not only one of the best Halloween movies in the Halloween franchise, I think that Halloween 2 is one of the best horror movies that's ever been made. I just think it's a fantastic movie. Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasance, Dick Warlock, fantastic job. Creepy feel from start to finish. I like the fact that it picks up exactly the same night immediately after the events that took place in the original 1978 film. Just as a whole, I just think that you're not going to get a much more solid horror movie than Halloween 2. Next up, I watched The Fog. I haven't seen The Fog a whole lot of times, to be honest with you. I did a review of that several months ago on my channel, and I'll also leave a link to that video down in the description as well, along with the Halloween that I just posted. The Fog is basically a town is getting ready to celebrate its 100-year anniversary. Unfortunately for the people of this town, 100 years prior, something terrible, a terrible crime was committed. A pirate ship went down and the gold was stolen, and now these pirates have returned through the fog to get a little bit of revenge on the town. They're looking for their gold. The Fog is awesome. The Fog is almost like a John Carpenter class reunion of sorts. It's like an all-star John Carpenter and Halloween thing. You have Jamie Lee Curtis is in there, Hal Holbrook is in there, Tom Atkins, Adrienne Barbeau. I know I'm missing people. I know I'm missing somebody. John Houseman. Just, you got several people that were in Creepshow. You have several people that were in other Halloween movies, Halloween 3. It really, really, really good, strong cast and a really cool setting. The whole idea of these pirates returning and coming back in the fog is just really cool. Definitely not my favorite Carpenter film, but with that being said, it's a really cool movie. I really enjoyed it a lot. Next up, I watched for the very first time John Carpenter's Vampires with James Woods and Daniel Baldwin. I never saw this movie. I really didn't know a whole lot about this movie. And around a month and a half ago, I was in FYE and I saw the Scream Factory release of it, and I figured I'd grab it and check it out. I knew October was coming and I wanted to do some Halloween / John Carpenter stuff this month. So my wife and I sat down and watched Vampires a couple days ago, and I have to tell you that I really enjoyed it a lot. And I'm not a vampire movie fan at all. There's a few of them out there that I really like a lot, but for the most part, I could give or take when it comes to vampire stories. James Woods, my wife thought it was really weird casting to have James Woods in the lead role in this movie, and I could definitely see why she would say that. James Woods does not seem like a vampire hunter to me, so I agree with her. But with that, I think that he pulled it off really well. I thought he was really convincing. I watched a lot of the bonus features here, and John Carpenter was discussing that working with James Woods is like working with an act of God. He is a force to be reckoned with, so you have to know going into working with him that you're dealing with a very, very big personality, and he definitely puts that big personality on screen in Vampires. Daniel Baldwin was also fantastic in this movie. Just really, really cool. Basically, it is what you think it is when I say that James Woods was a vampire hunter. him and Baldwin are partners. They have a team with him at the beginning of the movie. They have a team with him anyway. And they are seeking out and murdering vampires. A very simple concept. This movie didn't feel a lot like a John Carpenter movie to me. I mean, it had its moments, but I'm used to that old, mid-70s to mid-80s feel of John Carpenter's movies. And they all feel the same. They all sound the same. They all look the same. This one does not feel or look or sound like any of that older stuff at all. But it's still, don't let that detract you. It's a very good movie. It's really cool that these vampire hunters they're chasing the vampires down. They're more or less shooting them and dragging them out, shooting them with arrows and dragging them out of wherever they are into the sun, where they immediately burst into flames. It's really cool. I thoroughly enjoyed it a lot. Had that element not been there, I don't think that I would have found this movie to be as attractive as I did. But I love James Woods, whatever. I thought Daniel Baldwin was really good as well in his supporting role. I don't have any idea. There's a girl in the movie too, and I should have done more homework. I have no idea what her name is, but she was really good too. So yeah, if you get a chance to watch John Carpenter's Vampires, vampire fan or not, I strongly suggest it. I thought it was really good. And the last thing I watched this week was John Carpenter's Cigarette Burns from the Master of Horror series. I believe this was originally on Showtime, if I'm not mistaken. This was really good. I saw this when it first came out, and it's been years since I saw it. It came out in 2005, so at the latest I watched this was 2006 when these DVDs were released. Didn't remember at all that Norman Reedus was the star of this film. These movies, these Master of Horror movies, are all only 1 hour long, and if you don't know what they are, Mick Garris came up with the idea of creating a television show with 1 hour movies. 1 hour movie each week would air, and he would get all different famous masters of horror directors to direct these episodes. John Carpenter did 2 of them, and this is the first of the 2. I'll get to the other one hopefully later this month. In this movie, Norman Reedus is hired by someone to seek out a film for him. He's a film collector, very, very wealthy man. Money is no object. And the film that he's looking for, I had to bring it with me because I know I wouldn't remember it. The film that he's looking for is Les Fins Absolutes du Monde. No way in the world that I'm going to remember that without reading it. So anyway, this dude pays Norman Reedus' character to go out and find this film. Money's no object. Apparently this film, when you watch it, you go crazy. Bad things happen when you watch this film. And as soon as Norman Reedus' character, I think his name was Kirby, as soon as he starts to show interest in looking for this film, and as soon as he takes on the responsibility of finding this film, strange things start to happen. He starts to see strange things going on. Previously, he was a drug addict, and he was involved with a girl. I don't know what it was, girlfriend, fiance, wife, doesn't matter, irrelevant to the story. He was involved with a girl, and they were both drug addicts. This girl's father apparently owned a theater, and he was lending them money while all this was going on with the drugs and so on and so forth. And if I remember correctly, it was like $200,000 check he wrote out to them and told Norman Reedus' character Kirby, this is not a gift, this is a loan. So eventually, through flashbacks and imaging, you see that apparently they took this money and did a whole bunch of drugs with it, and the daughter wound up committing suicide. Eventually, Norman Reedus' character gets straight, and he is now, I don't want to call him a hitman, he's definitely not a hitman, but he seeks out things for people. He's like a hired hand to seek out films and art and so on and so forth for collectors who have a lot of money. That's more or less the gist of this story. And this particular movie that they're looking for is like followed by urban legend that the guy who wrote it went crazy, and everybody who watches it goes crazy. Everybody who was involved with the film is dead except for one person. It's pretty crazy, but it actually was really neat. I enjoyed going back and watching it. This, to me, felt more like a John Carpenter movie than Vampires did. Although, this did not feel like his older The Thing, They Live, Halloween, The Fog, etc. This had a much different feel to it as well, but it's really well made. It's really well cast. Norman Reedus was awesome in this movie. I have to assume that all of you realize and know that Norman Reedus is the gentleman who plays Daryl Dixon on The Walking Dead. Of course you know that. But if you don't, there's a little bit of information for you. That's who Norman Reedus is. So that's it. Those are the 4 films that I watched this week. Obviously, my favorite one was Halloween 2. I thought it was fabulous. My least favorite one, believe it or not, and I might get stoned for this thing, The Fog. I like The Fog. I like The Fog a lot. But of these 4, The Fog is probably my least favorite. I enjoyed Vampires. I'm surprised at how much I enjoyed it. I think if I were to rewatch these movies all over again, my least favorite may be different. Who knows? But this week, and all right, let me elaborate on that. It probably feels like it's my least favorite film because I just watched Cigarette Burns for the first time, or revisited that for the first time in 15 years, and I've never seen Vampires before, and I absolutely love Halloween 2. So there's got to be a last place, right? That doesn't mean that I don't like The Fog. All right, so I'm going to get out of here. Look for more John Carpenter films and more Halloween films next week. I'm going to try and do that all the way through the month of October. And there's more of enough subject matter that I can do that. So, I'm going to go. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you really like this video and you've been enjoying my content up to this point, please do me a huge favor. Click that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Have a kick-ass day. And thank you for watching. See you next week, folks. Later, Mikey.